Okay, so now 6, which date or dates is the moon's visible surface 50% illuminated? Any of your quarter moons. But the words quarter moons does not actually answer the question because the question is asking for dates. So the first one that we run across is July 30th. What's the second quarter moon that we run across?
Third quarter, August 14th.
August 14th is a third quarter. And August 29th. Number 7, which date or dates is the moon's visible surface, meaning the side facing us, 100% illuminated? Because what phase are we looking for? Full moon. So the words full moon don't answer the question because the question asks for a date, but we do need to go look for the date of a full moon. And that is August 7th. Okay. About how long is the lunar cycle?
29.
It's 29 and a half days. If you were to give me an approximate, what could you say?
About 4.
You could say about 4 weeks. Remember, we used that to help us with that one little diagram. You could also say it's about a month. We good so far?
Yes.
I'm gonna assume that means yes. Okay, so put this one aside. Get the one that says bell work 5.2, and you're going to go to the back. So on this one, it was a little bit more obvious on some of these phases before I made the photocopies. It came out a little bit darker than I had planned. So we're going to just go through these, but we're going to discuss why they are what they are. On a test, it will be obvious which phase I'm asking for, okay? All right, number one, A is what phase?
Waxing crescent.
How do you know it's waxing crescent?
Because it's more tilted to the right.
Okay, the lighting is mostly on the right, so it's a waxing crescent. What's your best guess on B? Yeah, it's a third or a last quarter. Now, here's something I would not do to you. I would not give you a third quarter and then ask you, ooh, is it a waning gibbous? Is it third quarter? Or is it a waning crescent? Because all of those could look really similar, right? If you had a really big waning crescent or a waning gibbous that was just barely a waning gibbous, they all three can look close to a last quarter. So if I give you one on a test, it will be obvious what it is, okay? Or at least should be obvious. What is number C? What is letter C?
Waxing gibbous.
It's waxing gibbous. How do you know it's waxing and not waning?
It's on the right side.
Because the illuminated part is on the right. D is the one that really, really looks different than what I had. It came out a lot darker. There was really some more white over here. So this is either a full moon or it's a pretty fat what?
First quarter.
It's a really fat waxing gibbous if it's not full. And again, would I expect you to say, oh, it's a waxing gibbous, but it's really, really, really almost a full? Or am I going to really expect you to be able to see the difference between a really fat waxing gibbous and a full moon? Probably not. right, what is E?
Waning crescent.
Waning crescent. And what is F? It's just barely fatter than,
Waning gibbous.
it's a waning gibbous. There you go. It's fatter than a last quarter. Oh, and I'm writing waxing when I should be writing waning. Okay, it's waning gibbous. Okay. Are we good on that one? Okay, there's a couple of other questions on here that we're going to answer together, just because I am a nice person. Number 10. Why don't we have solar and lunar eclipses every month?
Because the tilt of the moon. No, the tilt.
The moon's what?
Rotation.
Nope. The moon's orbital tilt. Remember, the moon's orbit tilts 5 degrees versus the Earth's orbit around the sun. Compared, golly, that's supposed to be an O. Compared to Earth's orbit. So, shadows, which cause eclipses, usually miss the Earth or moon. Remember, when we have a solar eclipse, it is the moon's shadow that falls on Earth. And when we have a lunar eclipse, it is the Earth's shadow that falls on the moon. But most of the time, we don't have an eclipse at all because the shadows miss. And why do they miss? Because the moon's orbital tilt is 5 degrees compared to what the Earth's orbit is around the sun. All right, we're going to also answer number 13. Why are crescent moons difficult to observe?
Because they're right by the sun.
Well, they're thin, but they're also close to the sun in the sky. They are thin, but you can still see them. You'll only see them when?
Sunset.
Just after sunset for a waxing crescent. When would I see a waning crescent?
Right before the sun rises.
Mm-hmm. Before the sunrise for a waning crescent. Because once the sun is up with them, you can't see them. They're too close to the sun in the sky. Are we good? You'll have to fuss at me when my writing goes off the screen and you can't see it. All right, the one other paper that we're going to walk just through just a teeny tiny bit is this little practice quiz, and I want you to go to the back. On the back, there is a diagram. And anytime you have a lunar phase diagram, what do I recommend that you do?
Find the sun.
Well, the sun's right here. Okay, so the sun's coming in from the right. And I always recommend that you start with what lunar phase?
Full moon. New moon. New moon.
Find new moon, because new moon is always in between the earth and the sun. So A is in between the earth and the sun. So A is our new moon. Here's what I want you to do. You're going to label all of them, but you can do that on your own. I know that A is a new moon, so I'm going to go over here to this column. I'm going to put an A by new moon. And I'm also going to put an A down here for the drawing that looks like new moon. So do y'all see what I want? Okay, so you're going to do all the rest of the phases, and then you're going to put the letters by the appropriate term and by the appropriate picture. Okay? Now, all 4 of these sheets are due on Monday. One of these sheets I am going to take for a grade, but you don't know which sheet, so you better have them all done. Everybody got it? Okie dokie.